And we're live.
Hello, my name is Scott McDonald, and this is my real live 27-year-old single daughter, Casey. Say hi, Casey.
Hi, Casey.
And we're going to talk about some of the things that you always wish you could talk about with your dad. That's why we called this Ask My Dad.
Because I'm so lucky.
Luckier than you know.
That okay, you remind me all the time. So.
Yeah, well, hey, Mark Twain said it's a poor dog that won't wag its own tail, right?
I don't know what that means.
All right.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. Okay,
Ego, size of 3 Western states.
Google it.
Google it.
Okay, now, I got a question for you. We're going to talk about social interactions between men and women, boys and girls.
Okay. Because I'm so good at that.
Yeah, yes, you are, actually. Let's talk about what a date is.
Okay.
Now, based upon a young, single adult person like your age, how do you define what a date is?
Well, for a lot of Mormon religious people about my age who heard this speech, there are, the 3 P's that define a date. Paired off, paid for, and planned. So that you have to be with one particular person that's assigned to you, that it has to be paid for. It can't just be like a free hangout session, and it has to have some preparation behind it, because spontaneity hanging out isn't really a date.
Okay, I absolutely agree. Those are great. The question is, there's a lot of things that people do together that are not really dates by that definition.
But they call them dates.
Yeah, well, for example, if you get invited to your cousin's reception, is that really a date? Because nobody's really paying for it, right?
No, I guess not. But you can turn it into a date. Because you both have to dress up and you're with each other the whole night, getting to know each other. It's a good activity.
Sure.
Would that
okay,
not?
I'll go along with it.
Okay.
There are times that your roommates are saying, hey, let's go out and do something. Let's go for pizza. That's not a date either, though, right?
No. Well, certainly because you're not paired off, for one thing.
Exactly. And, of course, you're pretty much expected to pay for yourself in that group setting.
Right.
All right. Now, I've heard a lot of young people say dating is dead. Nobody dates anymore. That's so old-fashioned, we don't need to date. I think that's a pretty stupid way to think.
I think the older that you get, the more often dating happens, come to think of it.
I think that's true, because I think you see the value of pairing off. Because the only way you're ever going to know what a real person's really like is to be alone with them in some activity where you're going to learn about yourself and about them.
That's true.
Can you buy that?
Yeah, no. And I think that after a while you get super frustrated with not knowing where you are. There's no determination about whether we're on a date or off a date, and you're just hanging out, and then you flirt for months until you realize she had no idea that she liked you. I think as you get older, you'd rather just... That's kind of the appeal, I think, of online dating sites. You're on there with other people that you know are in the dating game, that you want to go on a date with each other, and that's the purpose. And if you're not there to date, then people kind of tell you to get off, frankly. So as you get older, it's much more appealing to date than to not know what's going on.
Granted, well, look, the benefit of those sites is you're with people who have already said, look, I'm interested in having a social life. I'm interested in doing something like dating.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm gonna posit something. I'm gonna throw this idea out, and it may sound pretty stupid and pretty old-fashioned, but I kind of believe it. I believe that men are the ones who should always ask the girl out on the date, and not vice versa.
If you're actually intending to go on a date, I think it's the healthiest way to do it.
Okay, and I'm going by the date, by what you define. Pairing off, paid for, planned. You know, we're not talking about an accidental get a flat tire and somehow we're eating at the 7-Eleven, the frozen burrito aisle, right? We're talking about where somebody actually plans something. Now, I'm talking specifically about the first date. I believe that guys are the ones who should always be the ones to ask for the first date.
Well, when you say they should be, we're talking about the best possible scenario. It's not like the only way that things can get done, and it's not a date if a girl asks, right? It's just not the best situation.
I believe that it is within a man's character that what makes a guy is he has to take some initiative. And I think a girl, generally speaking, does not get turned on or excited or romantically inclined toward a guy who cannot take the initiative. Will you buy that?
I'm one of those people. If I was going to appeal to everybody all the time, I would have to put in here that, you know, that you'd have to be listening and agreeing if you believe in those real basic differences that men are different from women. And I know that you and I don't have that argument at all. That men are different from women, and they have roles. And they should have roles. And this is one of those.
I don't think you can deny this. I think absolutely men and women have different roles. Now, some people don't like having to take the responsibility for being a man or for being a woman, but the truth is, men and women are different, and I'm not talking just about plumbing, okay?
No.
All right.
No.
I think there's a difference of the way they think about themselves and about their social interactions. So, I believe that a girl has the responsibility to show that she's interested in a guy to be asked out. I think a girl who does not do that doesn't understand that no guy who is normal, who's not a stalker, where the relationship isn't going to end in some kind of restraining order, is going to have a normal relationship with a guy unless she shows him that she's interested in it. Will you buy that?
Well, what you're saying then is if a guy asks a girl out and she hasn't shown any interest, that there's either something wrong with the guy or the girl just get very, very lucky.
Well, I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong, but what it's really is more of a coin flip. Because if she hasn't really demonstrated any interest in him, then he is risking rejection, and that's where most normal guys are saying, I don't really want to do that.
They don't want to enter, they don't want to have to ask people out because the rejection factor.
Yeah, exactly. And so, if a guy is brave enough to go up to somebody who's expressed no interest in him whatsoever and asks her out, she's lucky that a person is willing to do that.
Well, shouldn't she then take that as a sign that, wow, I didn't show any interest in him. He's such a brave person. I should pay him respects for that.
Well, at least give him at least a little nod of acknowledging the guy's got a self-starter gene in him. I think that's good.
Well, when I started dating, my policy was I would always say yes to a guy who asked me out, because if he was brave enough to do that, that's all I owed him. A couple hours of my time. And it is a really difficult thing, and I think that guys get afraid because they've been through rejection. Or they've heard about it a lot on TV.
Well, I have the feeling that in a first date, that you ought to say yes every time unless there's a reason not to go. And there may be some good reasons why people creep you out and you don't want to go with them.
Right.
So, if there's any kind of subtle thing, you may not even understand why, I don't think you should feel bad about saying no. But I think the propensity that young women should have is to go if a guy has the guts to ask.
Okay, so then we're talking about if a guy has the guts to ask, it should be the guy asking.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what happens if he doesn't?
Well, if a girl is interested in dating the guy, well, he's the one who's going to have to plan and pay for and all that kind of stuff, the date. If she has not demonstrated any interest, he doesn't have the obligation to do it. But remember this, there's perception here. Unless a guy understands that she's interested, and sometimes she has to be kind of blunt.
You mean like picking up on signals? But Dad, what if the guy is hideous and no one has shown any interest in him at all? He's still under the obligation to go out and try, isn't he?
Well, define hideous.
Well, I mean that if no girl has shown any interest, or the dude is just dumb and doesn't pick up on things like that, so he obviously thinks no one's interested in me, therefore I don't have to go out and date.
Well, there are some people who concluded they're never going to enter the gene pool. Right?
Right.
Then they're not going to date. They've already decided, I'm so hideous, I'm Quasimodo, I'm up in the bell tower, no Esmeralda's going to come along. Unfortunately, a lot of times, those people are the first ones to ask. For some reason, they're so tone deaf as far as personal interactions they're going to ask. That may creep the girls out, too.
That's true, but maybe at that point they've learned that life is miserable anyway, so they may as well just go and try.
Yeah, but look, putting those people aside, who are the minority of guys, most guys are normal. Average guys, if you will.
Average.
Yeah, and by the way, most people wind up getting married. You know that, right? As a demographer, I can tell you, the vast majority of people marry, and the vast majority of people have children.
Oops, sorry, I lost your feed here. Just kidding. The vast majority of people... I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Technical issues. Okay.
So the vast majority of people date.
Because they enter into an understanding about what a date is and what the roles are, and that there are roles. And people who don't get that rarely hit it off quickly or healthily.
Right.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what, next time we talk, Casey, let's talk about the narrative of being a guy and the narrative of being a girl, and how that's going to impact what you do that's appropriate on a date, and how you can make the date seem more natural.
All right, that sounds like a good idea. We can do that. then I guess I'll see you next time.
All right. Well, we'll just pick up later. Thanks.
Okay. Bye.